We're now joined by Andy Mitten. And Andy, I just want to start and ask you, I was just looking up your Twitter page earlier. Does it feel like 30 years since you started as editor of United We Stand, the fanzine, or has it just flown by?
It's a long time ago, isn't it? Yeah. It was 30 years in October this year. I mean, I was a 15-year-old kid, and I look at those first issues, and it was absolutely terrible. I don't know why anyone paid money for it, but it picked up pretty quickly, you know. By the time I was 17, 18, it was selling well, and that's when I decided that I'd like to be a journalist, and I went to do a very good journalism degree in a town Kevin knows well. In fact, it's a city, Preston.
It's a town, Andy. Still a town, I tell you. It is a town.
Town values.
Oh no, it does have city status, but it's actually a town in my mind. Yeah, it is.
Funny enough, Andy, my own story is very similar because I started writing for the Galway United match programme at 15, and that's how I decided I wanted to get into journalism. But like, obviously, match programmes are kind of like all print are maybe facing an uncertain future. What about fanzines?
We're going well. I've just had an email before from Rob, who's done the subscriptions for 27 years. And he said we've just hit our highest ever level of printed subscriptions. It's good at the ground. It's tough on the newsstand because we sell United We Stand, even in Ireland. We sell it through Eason's there. But if you'd have said to me 29 years ago, United We Stand would still be going and would be profitable, because the opposite of profitable is losing money. And I always maintain that I make my proper money from my proper journalism, from my columns and my books with people. But United We Stand can't be run at a loss. And what happened just before Christmas was we printed a copy, and the next day Manchester United changed managers. And I thought, we've got to have something with Solskjaer on the cover. So I was just very honest with readers, and I said, look, it'll cost us £400 to reprint the front cover, because we hadn't printed the inside, just the cover, the colour section. And I said, it's up to you. We've designed this cover. Do you want it, yes or no? And we just had a surge of people subscribing. And what I said to them was, we don't need likes on Facebook or Twitter, because unfortunately I can't turn around to the printers and say, I can't pay you this month, but it's really popular on social media. And we have a problem with that on Twitter. I remember once Juan Mata retweeting our front cover to 4 million followers. We didn't pick up one new subscriber. So that shows a different demographic of people who go on social media, whereas our readers tend to be hardcore match-going Manchester United fans. We've got a lot.
Yeah, I want to say, what has there anything changed in terms of your relationship with the club and players and manager even as well through that time? Because a lot's changed at United over that 30 years or so, hasn't it? So what has changed around maybe your writing and maybe the readership, I suppose, of the magazine as well, or the fanzine?
Well, I'd like to think I've learned to write properly, because when I look at the early issues, it's dreadful. And we've got really good writers. I think it's become more professional. We're in a position where we can pay our writers. I don't think anyone does it for the money at all. And we have writers who refuse to take money off us. You know, Jim White, who writes for the Daily Telegraph, has refused money off us for 26 years now. And I've said to his wife, you know, I promise if you ever fall on hard times, I will guarantee that things will be all right for Jim. I'm not sure I'll be able to maintain that. In terms of the relationship with the club, I think it depends who you ask. I mean, I was writing pieces before Christmas which were very critical of what was going on at Manchester United, and my loyalty is to tell my readers the truth. It's not to be a PR agent for Manchester United, but I'd like to think we're sensible, we're well balanced, we've got a good relationship with a lot of the people at the club. Jose Mourinho gave his first interview to us, so did Ed Woodward. Richard Arnold, the MD, gave us an interview last year. He doesn't do any media at all, and I think they trust us. I'm sure that they read issues, and they do, and they listen to our podcast. I'm sure they won't agree with a lot of the things in there, but we've got I think we've got a constructive relationship. Last week, for example, I know Manchester United were trying really hard to secure a bigger allocation of tickets for the FA Cup game at Arsenal, and privately they were disgusted that Arsenal had given them half the number of tickets they should have done. And I think the fans and the club can work together on something like that. But when you're being critical of people, I mean, if Romelu Lukaku would have read the last issue, I don't think he would have ever wanted to speak to us again. But we wouldn't make it personal. If someone's not playing well, then we'll say that. But as Giggs once said after he read a copy to me, if you're playing badly, then you deserve stick. In the same way, if I put a rubbish issue out, people are going to tell me straight away. They're going to say, I paid good money for that, and that was rubbish. So you've got to keep your standards high, whether you're a journalist or whether you're a footballer. I'm just delighted that 29 years later, people buy it with their hard-earned money.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much free stuff out there now. So what I try and do is put stuff in there that you would not find anywhere else. Not online. Just stuff where you think, I didn't know that.
It's all these bloody millennials who just think everything is free. You know, it wasn't like that in our day.
No, you're right. And telling people that, look, this is where the money goes. The lads who sell it outside the ground, they tend to be young Mancunian lads. They use the money to follow Manchester United. You need money to exist. We've got print bills to pay. It's not free to print a magazine.
And I suppose getting back to the main reason you're on, when it all unravels with the babyface assassin, is he going to be nice in the fanzine, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Because the bubble has obviously burst. They didn't win last night.
You're very harsh, Johnny, on that one.
No, I'm being facetious, but it's interesting because, you know, everyone's been so positive. I think it's just, even 8 games is nowhere near long enough to assess how Solskjaer will get on. But how have you kind of, what's your conclusion after 9 games? And he was quite critical of the team last night. He said their intensity just wasn't there in the first half.
I think if I was giving him a report so far, I'd give him 4 marks. He's been excellent. He's lifted the mood. The fans are much happier. The staff at the club are much happier, and they weren't happy. The players are much happier. I've spoken to several of them, and the mood at the start of December was dreadful. Several players were deeply unhappy, to the point that they were quite happy for transfer rumours linking them with clubs like Real Madrid to go out there, however fanciful they may have seemed, because Real Madrid had no interest in some of the people that were being linked to.
So you're actually, players are trying to kind of slightly spin stories at times when it suits them.
I don't think it's players. I think it might be people close to players.
Yeah.
And you know, they were not happy. Paul Pogba was not happy. Marcus Rashford was not happy. And those 2 players have been exceptional under Ole Gunnar. And they had to be, because their own reputations were on thin ice with Man United fans. Paul Pogba was not a popular person at Old Trafford among the fans at the start of December. There wouldn't have been that many people too bothered if he would have gone. But now he's been much better. He's playing to his potential. Ole Gunnar, and I've spoke to players about this, he's basically said to them, let opponents worry about us rather than the other way around. The players like the fact that the full-backs are pushed right up. They feel that it opens the pitch up. They felt that Jose Mourinho was too preoccupied with the opponents and too nervous about protecting his defence to let Manchester United go at opponents. And when Ole Gunnar took charge, Manchester United had a negative goal difference. That's ridiculous after 17 matches. And when he struggled in the summer transfer window, I put a tweet out saying, okay, it's not gone well, but look at all these players at this club. And I listed every single one of them. And I thought there's a lot of really, really good players there. The problem was they weren't playing to their reputation, or certainly not to their wage packet, because Manchester United had the 2nd highest wage bill in world football and still do today. So Ole Gunnar's they're playing well and everything's wonderful.
When does the time actually come then, Andy, when they say, look, you are the man for the job then? Because I was on the weekend with Johnny, actually. We were on the show at the weekend with Johnny, and was it Nathan was on the weekend with us? It was Owen, wasn't it, actually? Yeah. So, and they were asking the question, do you think you'll have the job? And I said, well, clearly the board are uncertain at the moment. Clearly they are doing the work, they're doing everything behind the scenes to try to get him in place. So when does it? Is it the players that are going to take the initiative and try and drive that forward? Is it Solskjaer himself? Is it maybe outside influence that they're trying to push him? Do you think he's actually the right man for the job, and when will that time come that they're actually going to make that appointment?
Players tend to push for the incumbent. Players pushed for Ryan Giggs to get it before Louis van Gaal. Edward will certainly speak to the players. I don't think there would be any objections if Ole Gunnar was appointed full-time now, from the players, from the fans, from the staff at the club. But I don't think they need to appoint him full-time now. He knows he's here until the end of the season. I think if you get to the end of March and Manchester United are looking good for 4th, or if they've knocked PSG out, or if they're still in the FA Cup, then you're saying this is a guy who's achieved results beyond the honeymoon period. Because at the start, he had a relatively easy run, but he beat Arsenal last week, he beat Tottenham away. They're fantastic results, but you're still in this honeymoon period. It would only take 3 or 4 bad results for all the doubts to resurface. So if he was to finish 4th, that would be a major achievement, and I think he would deserve the job. And not just him, I think Mike Phelan should be kept on as coach, because he's a good guy, Mike. He's well respected, he's a good coach, and he's taking training every day. Ole Gunnar is sitting back up in the office, like Alex Ferguson did, and Ferguson's more on the scene now. Ole Gunnar's speaking to him. David Moyes didn't. Jose Mourinho didn't. Louis van Gaal didn't. They weren't being disrespectful. They just felt that they wanted to get on with their own job without this big shadow behind them.
Is there not just a small fear, though, that the club and the fans, a bit like Kenny Dalglish in his return to Liverpool, that you get slightly wrapped up in nostalgia of, you know, the warmth and happiness that is, invoked by just remembering when Solskjaer was a player, because his managerial credentials still at this stage are very, very questionable in that he's quite unproven, and surely Manchester United should be looking at getting like someone like Rafa Benitez, or at least somebody who's really, really proven at the top level.
Oh, it's a great shout.
I think if you appointed Rafa Benitez tomorrow as Manchester United manager, you would see protests outside Old Trafford.
Yeah, he's a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like a proven manager at the top level.
And I do actually respect Benitez for what he did at Valencia, and taking Liverpool to win the European Cup was an incredible achievement. And even at Newcastle, on his resources, he's doing well. I think you've got to give Solskjaer a bit more time. He's doing very, very well. It would be ridiculous if he continues to do well to change something that's working.
But if it works in the course of like half a season, that's not necessarily working. It's still, there has to be a reaction from Mourinho. So say if they finish 4th or 5th, with that quality of players, they really should be doing pretty much as close to as well as they are at the moment anyway. They've such good players. So he's just bringing the smile back on their face, and maybe he's not doing much more than that.
I think half a season is a fair time to judge him. I think if he's got him into 4th and you're judging him over 30 matches, I think that's a fair trial period. I don't think it's fair in a year, just to keep him going on beyond that. If people were saying after 3 games, give him the job, I think that's ridiculous. Even now, I would say, just let him carry on playing. You've got some really, really tough matches. If they're going to lose all these tough games, then doubts will resurface. At the moment, you're in this honeymoon period, added to the fact that Pochettino, the man who is fancied to take over, he's having a rough time himself. But just wait 2 months. Just see where United are.
It's mad actually how the Spurs kind of, the problems they're having has almost directly coincided with Manchester United's revival. Entirely coincidental, but it's just strange that it's happened like that. But I mean, I suppose going forward, what's this season going to bring? And it's interesting as well that there are stories of he has a fairly ruthless nature to him as well. He's apparently after, I think it was the Reading game at half-time, he wasn't happy at all at half-time. The players got maybe their first sight of a guy that wasn't a million miles removed from Alex Ferguson and the hairdryer if he actually wanted to be.
That's what the fans want to hear. And I think that's what the players want as well. Ole Gunnar is no fool. In the same way that Juan Mata might be the world's nicest man, but he's not got to the level in professional football where that he has by being a soft touch. You've got to have a nasty side to you, and Ole Gunnar's had that. He's using the tools at his disposal to the best of his ability. Why not use someone like Sir Alex Ferguson? Why not go and speak to him after games? And that is what he's doing. But he would be a far cheaper option, so that would be attractive to Manchester United. And Pochettino, who would have been everyone's favourite, I think, in December, he's fallen out of favour a little bit. But while fans are extremely loyal, they're also extremely fickle. And I can remember when Rooney was linked with a move away, 2013, there was not a one United fan I could find who wanted him to stay. 2.5 weeks later, they were singing his name at Swansea away. So
recency bias.
Events can change really, really quickly. But Ole Gunnar is doing exceptionally well, and if he carries on doing like this, and he's not going to win every game, he's going to lose some of these matches against these big teams.
In relation then to the fickle nature of supporters, then you spoke about Pogba and Rashford, and there might have been a divided opinion on whether they're going to be serious United players going forward. What are the form has picked up, but is there still an understanding that, look, this might be a bit of a flash in the pan thing?
the demographics of Man United support and Liverpool's are really interesting, because at the matches you'll find the fans are more supportive, even when Mourinho was really struggling. Whereas online, I can remember when United were champions a few years ago, they had the audacity not to win an away game at Swansea. And there was like this surge of complaints. It was just ridiculous, because you've got glory hunters, effectively, people who are only been attracted to glory, thinking that Manchester United should win every single game that they play. I think the club have got to take a longer view, a more sensible view, because if they listened to some of the online fans, they'd have no players left. They would have all have been sold. Marcus Rashford at times this season would have been sold because people have said he's only getting a look in because he's a Mancunian, because he's a United fan. He's actually a very good player who is now confident and playing in his preferred position. Every player, as you know, Kevin, has bad times. Lukaku's had a bad time. Sanchez has had a pretty wretched 12 months. Do I think he's finished as a player? No, I don't. I think these people should be given the benefit of the doubt. Even Fred, £52 million. He's done nothing so far. I don't think we should sell him. Lindelof, a year ago, some United fans were saying this guy's a disgrace. He should never have been bought. He should never be near this famous red shirt. They're not saying it now. I've got emails in my inbox from 6 weeks ago saying we should get protests. I'd be quite funny if I replied to some of them and say, OK, Leicester on Sunday, let's get the protest going against the club. You won't find any support for it.
Just briefly, if you were to call it now, will he be the manager at the start of next season?
Yes.
Kev?
I'm still undecided. I'm still 50-50. I am, honestly. Because I think if a big name were to come up, I still think at the moment, I think he'd jump ahead of him. A
big name could be taken over at Oldham. Paul Scholes has been linked with his hometown club. I'm fascinated by that development, because it's just a career that you think this could go either way from.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Andy about that. I'm interested to see how this goes. There's huge rumours he has in fact got the job, but is there some sort of conflict of interest in relation to Salford City, I think. Is that right, Andy, at the moment?
Yeah, Salford City, the Amis. And if there could be a conflict of interest, which would need to be sorted out, and Paul knows that, and Oldham know that as well. Paul told me that he wanted to go into management.
How long ago was that?
He's told me that pretty consistently over the last year. He lives in Oldham. He's going to stay living in Oldham. He likes going to watch Salford City. He goes to Manchester United sometimes. The problem with Oldham is it's a bit of a basket case of a club. It's not a stable club.
Yeah, big time, because we had Irish players went over there. Obviously, Jack Byrne has come back. Patrick McElhinney went last season, and it was a case where Oldham were actually looking for money from an Irish club for McElhinney. They were so desperate for cash, and it was like reversal of roles, because it was normally the Irish clubs that were the basket cases, but Oldham seemed a complete mess. Yeah,
well, those reports are accurate, and that's why Oldham went down for, I think, the first time in 17 years last year. And it's tight. You had the owner who stepped down just over a year ago. You got a new owner come in. He's brought lots of predominantly French players in there. You've got a pretty strong hardcore of about 4,000 people, way down from the Premier League days when you were getting 14,000. But Scholes fancies being a management. If you were saying to him, as Alex Ferguson always did, including Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, go to a club which is stable with a good chairman, Oldham would be the last club you recommend, but it's his childhood club.
It's also a club that has an upside, because they've gone so far down. Can things get much worse?
Well, they could, because Stockport County, who are a similar size club, went down 2 more divisions, and there are big clubs in the conference. Tranmere Rovers get higher average crowds than Oldham Athletic, so do Wrexham. So it really can happen. And if you've got a chairman who's interfering and telling you which players to pick, that's not great for any manager.
Scholes wouldn't like that.
He wouldn't. What I think he needs is guarantees. I pick the team. What's my wage bill going to be? And then if I was speaking to Paul and saying, what do you know about 4th Division football? Who do you know? Because there are lads in that league who are managing. They know who the left-back is at Macclesfield Town and the reserve left-back. Their base of knowledge is very high, and I think Paul would need a good assistant, someone who knows the club and knows the league very well. I know lads who've managed at Oldham really, really well. Friends of mine, people like Dean Holdham, and they had a good run at the start. And last year, Rick Wellings, he was doing very well there, and I know Rick well, and he was doing really well. He had them moving up the division, and then these people don't slot now.
He can always ring Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for advice now to be a top manager anyway.
Yeah. I'd love him to do well, because I think Paul, he's got a lot of talent, and I think he would make a good manager. But there are so many strands to being a good manager. And I said, well, what about dealing with the media? He said, yeah, fine, don't bother me. Don't bother me with what people are saying.
Wow.
No manager should be bothered by what people are saying. The problem is decisions are made by what people are saying.
It's because a bit more nuance than that.
Want a manager out,
yeah.
The manager tends to be sacked.
Andy, thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
Thanks, Andy.